Hey guys, and welcome back to another City Skylines tutorial slash inspiration video. Just a quick update on the tutorial series. The tutorials and inspiration series which started last week are now going to kind of amalgamate into one another as opposed to being two separate series, so we'll alternate between the two. But yeah, that's just a little update on how these are going to continue from today onwards. But today's episode is just going to be on a little bit of park inspiration. The assets we're going to be using today are all from the Park Life DLC, if you didn't guess that already. And we're just going to be covering kind of a few different types of park, kind of from some larger ones down into some like micro little detailing stuff like this. And then we, in the recent episode of the Let's Play, we built this thing over here. So we're going to run through them. So we'll start off with this one, and at the end of this the parks that we have in this city, we're going to go ahead and build one, and I'll leave a message on screen right now as to where that build is if you want to just see the build and ignore the tour. But yeah, let's dive in. So this is one we built in our last episode of Friendwood, and you can see its main goal is to really break up the constant kind of housing. Like if you're looking in this area, you know, there's still some houses being built here. This is a really new addition to the town. You know, and it isn't just row after row of housing. Eventually you reach something that just breaks that pattern. See, it's a different shape. There's different lights and different contours and different colours in and around this park area. I'm actually just going to go ahead and turn off the day and night cycle. There we go. So you can see, you know, you can use a different combination of rocks. You know, I'll try to just leave this this camera looking over this. So you see different little bits of colour, some overgrowth, rocks, different shaped paths. You know, it isn't all just grids, and this really serves just to break up the relentless pattern of a residential area. And it also, as well, it adds fairly significant value to the land around your residential as well. As you can see, the green is highlighted by high value, and you can see all around this park here we have majorly high value, which serves in upgrading our household, which in turn brings you more money, and then everyone is happy at the end of the day. And it's also a cute little idea as well, rather than just having solid parks. So say for example this road wasn't here, this big kind of loop, I don't really know what this shape is, would just be solid park, but I haven't done that. We've added in some little commercial buildings in. These are using the Green Cities Renewable Energy policy that you can assign to a district, and it just really helps to, you know, even go ahead and break the park up a little bit. We have two entrances here, and this part turned out really nice. If you'd like to see this being built, it was in the most recent episode of the Let's Play, which was uploaded on Tuesday, yesterday. So go ahead and check that out. And then again, just come back to the theme of rocks. You know, you can make this hillside look so much more interesting. If we look at the hillside from this is how the map generated its hill. You know, that's what it looks like. That's how it comes in the map. It isn't too interesting. But just by adding a little bit of a rock feature, almost as if there was like a landslide here, just makes it look so much more interesting. And it just adds a lot more personality to the area. Now, if you're using mods, you can go ahead and do something a lot more spectacular than this. But as this is an unmodded kind of inspiration series, this just gives you a little bit of an idea. So we placed some really big rocks here. You know, you can imagine that when the landslide happened, this big bulk of the cliff slid down, leaving some smaller boulders behind it, and then you have kind of the main central area where this boulder used to sit, and where it's all crumbled away and slid down. You've got some little boulders that have spilled off and rolled a little bit further away, and then you imagine no one walks in this area, so it's all a little bit overgrown. So just factor that into your park as well. And then over here we have another little residential park again. So you can see we've got this grid pattern going on here. You know, it's all very gritty, very square, very symmetrical. But then all of a sudden we just break it up with a nice big park, and again this is just going to serve to increase land value. We've got some really nice looking houses around this part of town. Everyone's happy. We've even factored in some of the vanilla assets. We've got the basketball court here as well. And then obviously some of the park life assets like the park cafe, the restroom and the gazebo. And again, just using that kind of feature of a rock place some of the bigger rocks in the center of the field where you want to build, and then kind of plan your paths around that. You can see how we've done that here. And again, I think we've just implemented the small playground into this as well, so you can still use the vanilla assets just to kind of flesh the park out a little bit. So these are two examples of fairly suburban parks, something you might find where you live. And we're not going to cover the amusement park, we're really kind of covering the general parks today. And then over in our downtown area, this is a lot more of a kind of a city park. You know, this is, everything's a lot more packed in here. This is a lot more dense. You know, you've got kind of plazas here and a chessboard. And this sits right amongst our financial district where we've got all our big high-rise buildings here. And again, we've got some kind of tourism buildings. I think these might be nightlife or entertainment buildings. I don't think these are tourism. And then we've also got a metro station factored right into our park as well, so people can visit it quite easily. And then again, you can just see how we've made the main paths in the park out of the tarmac paths. And then we have just this little splash of colour right in the middle that's using one of the dirt roads. You have a little gazebo, and again, it just helps break that pattern up. It's a nice little spot of green in what is an otherwise relatively dense area of town. And then again, one of the very first parks that we built was over here, and now this park factors in some public transport, and this is what we're going to be building today. We're going to be making a bigger, more downtown version of this, and you can see, I think it's really cute. And then you've got all these people coming in. You just have to bear in mind, and again, big shout out to Bill and Ted, who is one of my subscribers, for letting me know this, because I did not know. For a park to level up, it needs visitors, and for visitors to count, they have to walk through a gate like this. They have to pass through a gate to be counted as a visitor. If they arrive from the side like this, where the path just joins the road, they don't count. They have to pass through a main gate or a side gate. So just bear that in mind if you want your parks to be making money. I don't really use the park life stuff to make money. I really use them as kind of aesthetic places. You know, we have a few tram stops in here as well. We get a lot of people coming in and out. There's a lot of reasons to visit here. They have commercial, there's a high school, another basketball court. That takes them down into another kind of wooded residential park that borders the river with a train line going through it. So, and don't forget as well, you can see how kind of boring this looks here, because it hasn't got anything in it. It's just empty green field. And then over here, you know, you've got kind of a thick, lush, wooded area right alongside the river and the ferry interchange. And then there's paths that cross over the river as well. So just try out a few different styles of park. There's always something to be had. So we'll go ahead now and we're going to build one over here. So what I'm planning to do with this empty kind of triangle that we have here, this is going to be another real high density kind of area. So we're going to go ahead first of all and paint your park area out. I'm just going to go for the medium one. Now I want this to kind of serve as a border between the road and the buildings. So as we're coming towards the edge of our map here, don't want it on the road, it's not that back a touch. There we go. So as the high density part here expands, I don't want buildings right up next to the road. However, I also don't want just empty green space like this either. So having a little city park is a great way of actually just filling in those empty spaces. So we're going to start out by drawing in our main paths here. So I'm going to use the park path decorations. See, they already come with trees and benches and lampposts built into them. So I'm going to go ahead and turn off my snapping. And I would also recommend you do that as well. It just allows you to get a lot more shape into your kind of park paths. You know, they look a lot more interesting. So I'm going to follow kind of the bend of the road here. And again, with the snapping turned off, you are just going to have a lot more freedom in the way that this park actually looks. And again, make sure that's up to there. Yeah, that should be okay. And now, depending which main gate you use, the park main gate should really suit the area that you're building in. So as this is going to be high density, I want this kind of main gate to be quite grand, whereas I wouldn't have really used that in the little tram interchange one that we had over there as well. So because I want to factor in public transport into this area, I'm going to go ahead and turn our snapping back on, and then I'm going to draw in a tram road, because I do want this to be incorporated into the park. Now I'm probably going to only leave the trams up to there. After this I'm going to switch to the tram only line, so cars obviously won't be driving into this area. So I can go ahead right now and just link that up with a road, and that's just a friendly little reminder that this part of town is to only contain tram lines. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to come in and make a simple little tram interchange. I'm going to come up, and a lot of people, it's really cool to, you know, factor in a public transport system into your parks. It's not the perfect roundabout, but it will do. It just really helps give them a lot more personality. So just something like that, really simple, really easy to do. And then I'm just going to come ahead now. So I haven't planned this out at all. I'm just going to free arm this, if you like. I'm going to come back here and I'm going to drop in a park side gate. Just push the park area up. We'll probably have it along here. And then again, back to our park paths. And we do want snapping off. We'll have, probably there is a nice sensible place to put it. So you just got something like that. And again, I want to loop this back up and around. At the minute, it kind of looks a little bit empty, a little bit weird, but that's fine. And I'm also going to incorporate as well, rather than just having everything at ground level, throw in a couple of bridges and tunnels just to break up the monotony of what would just be totally flat land. So what I'm going to do is, before I place in the paths around it, I'm going to make a tram line here. So just for the sake of this, I'm going to start it from here, and it's going to stop just outside of town, and then it's going to stop here. Then it's going to come around this way. It's going to stop there and there, and then it's just going to mirror itself coming all the way back, and then yeah, it can go there. That's fine. So that's just so you have at least one line coming in. It's not the ideal line, it does go too far back, but that's not really part of the take home message from this. So for bridges, you do want snapping back on. And then let's just say, so let's have a look where our stops were. Okay, so we have one here. So let's grab our path. And it can be actually easier to use just the pavement paths to start them out originally. So we're going to have them right there. That gives people access there. And then I'm going to have the medium elevation step on. And yeah, it's going to need to knock it up another little bit. And again, just kind of the take home point of this series, don't be taking exactly what I'm building for gospel. You guys feel free to make your cities exactly how you want them to look. And again, just to get this to fit in nicely, I'm just going to snap that in. So now I've got a little way for people to get across to the other side of the tram tracks. And then again, I'm going to switch back to the main one here and drag this across to there. And then I'm going to upgrade this one now as well. So already we can see a nice shape starting to take form. And a big detail that I see a lot of people often neglect is to fence your parks in. It really helps make a difference and kind of really separates that area as its own kind of entity, if that makes sense. So we're just going to bring this out here. There we go. And up to there. I mean, obviously Sims in the game won't walk through here anyway. But you know, this is a nice park area, so already now what was a very empty green space is already looking a lot more interesting. Now what I do want to do is I want to make sure that we have some high density buildings in here as well, so we're going to factor them in somewhere. So I'm probably going to bring these in here on second thought, so we're going to do that now as well. And again, don't forget, if you do want your parks to be functional and to make you money, then you don't want to be doing exactly this, because I'm planning on making the people not pay to enter this park. So again, I want this to be really high dense. Can we get on up there? Not quite. Let's break the grid pattern a little bit. And then we'll leave that up to there. So that's quite nice. And again, I'll have another park side gate just here. We'll knock this back a little bit. And then we'll be able to just link our park up nice. Just like this. And then I'm also going to have one here as well. And then that's super. So already we've got some nice interesting shapes. So I'm going to go ahead now and grab a little spot from here. So I'm going to bring that up. Now I'm going to place some of the park assets along here. So maybe let's have a plaza. So as people arrive off the tram station, they're going to be greeted by a plaza and maybe a little park info booth. That might be quite cute. Again, I'm just going to box this in. Now don't worry about getting them perfectly straight. Again, it's all about breaking that grid pattern. And what you can do with these little green spaces that spawn is just go ahead and grab a couple of trees. And a little tip, use trees that you don't usually use. You'd be surprised how nice they can look. Now I want something a little bigger around here. So I'm going to go for some of these. And then just a little bit of a couple of bushes in around as well, and then maybe a couple of smaller rocks on this corner. So detail in a park of this size to this level of detail will take you a while, but you know, sometimes it's nice just to have a little bit of stress-free detailing. Did that not place? There we go. You know, a little bit of nice detailing just to take your time doing one specific area. Okay. So I want people to be able to access the tram lines from here as well. So I'm going to go ahead and add them in another little spot, and then definitely I want something coming down here. And again, we can turn our snapping off here and bring this straight down. And then these guys have a little way up onto the catwalk now. Again, I think I'm just going to replicate this shape over here. So again, don't go in it with kind of too many concrete plans in your head. Just go in it, place some stuff and see what happens. Okay, so I'm going to place that there. And that's just going to knock out the paths. And by keeping snapping off, you can make sure that you get your paths as tight to your attractions as possible. Yeah, let's have one there. That works. And that creates us a nice little junction. So maybe get in some different trees. Maybe let's try one of these big ones. And then again, don't forget about the props. If you scroll all the way to the end, you're going to come to some nice little benches here. Now, because there is already benches on that, again, this is purely aesthetic. This is not functional. Your Sims will never use the benches. I'm just going to take the trees away from that one. And add a little row of benches along here. A little light for them. A little bin. And then again, maybe a little flower bed behind them. You know, you can imagine as you're filling in this area with all these little details like this, then it's going to start to look really nice. So what I want to do now is I want to paint a district for my new financial centre that is going to sit along here. And that's going to come up in between these squares. And I want the renewable, the IT infrastructure, is it called? IT cluster, office zoning in this part of town. So that's what I want to have right here. And this will slowly start to grow, and then as your park begins to get surrounded by tall buildings, it'll start to look really sweet. So now I have a few clusters here that I know I'm not going to be building. I'll kind of place any park assets in here. So I'm just going to create a little wooded area. Now I'm going to use a main tree as kind of the theme, and I always go to the small beech trees. So I'm just going to scatter a few of those around. Then I'm going to switch down a size. I'm going to place in some older trees. Not as many as the beech. And then I'm going to finish off this area just with a couple dashes of colour. And again, don't think about where you're placing them. Just kind of jerk your mouse from side to side. And then see what you come up with. And then maybe a couple of rocks in here as well. I do fancy a big rock in here at some point. Maybe to fill in this big space over here. Now some of these bigger rocks do come with their own little kind of detailed assets. So just place a few of them. Because on their preview window when you are placing them, they don't have those little details with them. So of course now my new finance district wants... That is terrible pipe placement. I apologise in advance. It says do you want something, and just to link this power across, I'm going to place in a little basketball court, and that's going to make everyone happy, and link them all up. And again, don't forget just to make sure you keep boxing in that park with your fencing, and you'll already see how much of a difference this will make. So when you come to a corner, bring it up to the where the road bends, and then switch to your freeform tool, and then just come out. And then you'll be able to get a nice smooth curve along there. Bring this one up as well. And there you go. It's already now. See, I didn't want the buildings right up along here with the road basically here. So we've already started on a nice new area. Got some high density stuff going here. I'm not going to build any more of this because I do want to save a little bit of this for the Let's Play episode. This will be our next project. But you can see how you can just use parks to kind of focus a new area around. There's also going to be some more buildings along here. Maybe we can squeeze something up along here as well. So yeah, I hope that was a little bit inspiring for you guys. You know, don't take this as gospel, just kind of use it as inspiration. If you want to see this part being finished, then don't forget to tune into the next episode of the Cities Let's Play. Playlists will be down in the description, so you can kind of go from this as well. And if I remember rightly, we have one over here. If you don't have the Park Life DLC, then expand your vanilla assets. So this right here is just a small park. That's how it looks. However, just using the same assets from it, you can expand it and make it look a lot more varied and interesting. We've used the same trees and the same paths. It just allows us to flesh out a residential area and again just break up that monotonous grid pattern with the nice spot of green and a few different themes and assets placed around. Yeah, I hope you found that useful, guys. If you did, don't forget to leave a like on the video. It really helps out the channel and it lets me know what you guys do and don't like. And yeah, if you didn't like these kind of inspiration tutorial videos, then feel free to leave a dislike too. Again, it helps me find out what you guys enjoy. Thanks very much for watching. Hope you enjoyed it. And as always, enjoy the rest of your day.